Now, I'm aware of Mrs. Jones's diagnosis because I made sure I read the chart or talked to the nurse prior. I know that Mrs. Jones had a stroke and that it made her left side weaker. So she does not have a lot of use of her left arm or her left leg. Mrs. Jones has fairly good trunk control, so she can maintain her sitting balance. Don't forget to use the transfer belt. The transfer belt has one side that does have teeth on it, if you can see the teeth, and one side that's simply another loop for the belt to go through. You want to make sure that when you place the transfer belt on your client that you're going through the teeth side first. Explain to her that this is just a belt for her safety and that you won't make it too tight. It does need to be snug. But make sure that you still can put your hands, some fingers behind it so that it's not too tight for them. If you have extra, you can tuck that in under the belt on the side so that it's not in your way. Now, what I'd like to do is I make sure that the bed is in a proper height so that my patient can get her feet flat on the floor. And what I'd like to have you remember is that when you have a patient who's got one side that's stronger, you need to always transfer to that stronger side. Now with Mrs. Jones, her right side is stronger, so I'm going to position the wheelchair parallel to the bed on her stronger side. Before I move the wheelchair over, I'm going to swing away and remove the leg rest so that it's not in my way. And I'll do the same on the other side. I'll position the wheelchair so that it's in an appropriate spot for Mrs. Jones so she doesn't have to do too much of a turn during this pivot transfer. Make sure that you lock the brakes. So the chair is secure. And all I'm doing is explaining to Mrs. Jones exactly what I want her to do and how the transfer will be completed. So I would say to my patient, I'd like you to please move forward in bed if you're able. If she cannot do that, you can help by doing a little bit of a scooching motion with the safety belt. Now that she's on the edge of the bed, I make sure that her feet are under her. If she's got a weak leg, I want to block that with my knee so that that leg is not collapsing out on her. So block the weak side with your knee. Sometimes you'll need to also block the foot a little bit so it doesn't slide. What I would explain to her is that on the count of 3, I'm going to help her to come to a stand. And notice I'm trying to use good body mechanics, bending my knees, keeping my back straight. And when I would bring her to a stand, I'm going to ask her to reach with her good arm, with her strong arm, towards the arm of the wheelchair to help with the transfer. Okay, push up from the bed now so that you've got a surface to help and push from. If this arm was not useful at all, I would just she'd either have it in a sling or I may ask her to tuck it into her pocket during this transfer so it's not hanging and irritating the joint. And then on the count of 3, I'll have you push up and we'll turn and sit. 1, 2, 3.